And welcome back to Smart Office Network TV. And once again, I'm Mark Oriol. Today's show brought to you by Metro Brokers, IPTV Boys Media, and Meridian Title and Escrow. Our guest today is Mark Oriol. Mark Oriol's been involved in short sales and working short sales really for the last 4 or 5 years since kind of the inception of the product. So Mark, welcome to the show today.
Hi, Mark.
Happy to have you on. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? How'd you kind of get started in the short sale business?
Well, I used to own a mortgage company, actually, so I was in the mortgage business prior, and had a mortgage company that I had some LOs working for me, and when the market started to change, and had a friend approach me about 5 years ago that started an investment firm in Arizona, and it mainly dealt around buying properties through short sale. So I had kind of helped him the last 5 years expand that into some different states, and we had, as a buyer and involved in negotiations, been involved in about 1,000 short sales. And in the beginning, I was actually doing some of the short sale negotiation myself.
Right.
And then I started training kind of a team of other negotiators over the last 5 years that I trained them and kind of oversaw them in the short sale process. And the market's changed dramatically, and there's that many more short sales today where that firm still has a pretty good presence today, buying short sales and negotiating short sales.
So how do you think the industry's changed in the short sale world? Really, it's been like just a 5-year history. It's kind of like the internet thing. It's like 5 years is 100 years. What's really changed out there?
You know, I think the biggest thing, and we've seen a lot of this with the legislation that's come out, is we went from an industry that was very unregulated to it's becoming very regulated, and for good cause. You know, everything from real estate commissions being involved to the actual states being involved. We've now looking at an industry that's got some regulations and some guidelines that need to be followed. And then the other thing is, you know, we were mainly looking at, for my opinion, 2-3 years ago, a lot of subprime borrowers that were affected and participating in short sales, and now we see what I call prime borrowers, A-paper borrowers, people that have always, you know, stayed on top of their credit, that put money down when they bought houses. We're now seeing that group of people being affected and participating in short sales. So when that happens, it almost becomes where it hits a critical mass, and it's, you know, short sale used to be kind of known as, in my opinion, whether you went to a barbecue or a cocktail party, kind of a dirty word, and
right.
And now people are embracing it and seeing it as another alternative to losing your home or staying upside down for 10 years.
Yeah, you know, you're worth. I think when I ran my stats at the end of, we ran kind of some price scenarios, we were seeing less than 14 to 18% of the properties being short sales. But for what I'm seeing right now, I think we're going to move into 20, 30, maybe even 40%. I just heard the other day that Florida and Las Vegas, two of the big markets, just got knocked down. Increase of foreclosures of 75%. I mean, you know, Miami is just going to tank another probably 30% in values.
Yeah, and I think one of the other big things too is that you're looking at banks now that, you know, a lot of people have this preconceived idea about short sales, and banks are becoming a lot more consumer friendly to get the short sales done. We're seeing turn times being cut down, and the banks being a little more lenient on homeowners walking away from the deficiencies and so forth without the ramifications that used to be in place. And banks are seeing it as an alternative. I mean, I think a lot of people know the statistic that, and the number that's thrown around, it varies, but the bottom line is a bank will generally lose more money through foreclosure / REO than they will participate in a short sale.
Right.
They're putting a lot of their processes in place to make it a little more consumer friendly, to get them done in a little bit more timely fashion is what we're seeing.
Yeah, so I think you've been involved in, I'm going to say 400 negotiations or transactions over the last 18 months. What's been your average turn time on the short sales you guys have been negotiating?
We're last quarter we were under 68, right around 68 days.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
So I think the last transaction that we're just getting ready to wrap up at Meridian Title, I mean, we had the same lender, first and second with Wells Fargo, but we had a bank that accepted, I think, 590 net on 1.1 million owed, and we got that approved in 53 days.
Wow.
And the homeowner, I know a lot of people are worried about ramifications. To give you an example what banks are doing, you know, the homeowner's walking away from a $500,000 deficiency with no 1099, with no deficiency judgment. They just have to sign a $5,000 promissory note at closing.
Wow.
And they're walking away. So that gives you an example of not only are time frames getting dramatically better, but also, again, ramifications to homeowners are getting a little bit more consumer friendly.
Yeah, so there's a big difference really between what you do and say working with a company that just pushes paper. I mean, you're actively truly actively involved in negotiations and, in a way, really indirectly representing the best interest of that seller that's deficient, really.
Yeah, I think what a lot of people have the perception with short sales a lot of times, whether it's a third-party company that's doing it, an attorney that's doing it, or the listing agent themselves, as opposed to just presenting an offer to the bank and accepting what the bank gives, it's really having somebody that's going to be there as an advocate for the homeowner, the seller, to make sure they get terms that are agreeable. Because again, the seller does have some leverage in the fact that the last thing a bank wants is another foreclosure / REO.
Right.
Whether it be for market values, whether it be for the sheer fact it's going to cost them more money. So it really is important to have somebody on the seller side that knows short sales and knows how to navigate through banks, and they make sure that they're really going to fight on behalf for the homeowner, that the homeowner gets a short sale approved that they can really accept and deal with the terms of the short sale.
You think there's anyone out there other than yourself and the organization that you've worked with in Colorado that has completed, negotiated, and closed as many short sales transactions as yourself?
I don't think so. I mean,
Yeah.
the team that we have at Meridian Title now has been involved in 400 short sales, whether it's as a negotiator, an agent involved in the transaction. It's a pretty high number. So that we feel we bring some expertise to the table. I think there's some great things you can do out there in the short sale world as a realtor, which, going to some of these classes for 2 days is great. But that's like saying I went to a class for the weekend to learn how to, work on car engines, and now I'm an expert. I think you had to be hands-on and participate and have some experience actually being involved, because there's a lot of moving parts in a short sale, and there's a lot of things that come up that you have to have some experience and track record to do the short sales, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. So what we're trying to do is maybe encourage our agents to use the tools, use some of the software and hardware out there, other techniques, whether they're expired listings, withdrawals, etc., and find short sales, and don't shy away from them, and then push them to you. And we're going to be doing some seminars for our agents to go over that, to show the tools and show your back end, because that's really what you've developed over the last 4 or 5 years, is a software, internet hosted piece of software that actually manages the transaction, correct?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things about short sales that agents get discouraged about. It's not just the man/woman hours that you put into a file, whether it be being on hold, faxing documents, being discouraged by documents being missing, banks not calling you back. One of the things that we wanted to put in place is what we call a short sale assistant, somebody that has a track record, can then work with you as a listing agent, with you and your seller. So the first tool that we bring to the table is linking you up with a short sale assistant that will take on what we call a lot of the dirty work, whether it's being on hold, again, fighting on behalf of the seller, taking phone calls from the bank, so that you as an agent can do what you're good at and what makes you money, which is going out, showing property, going out and getting new listings. It doesn't make you money a lot of times sitting on hold with a bank or faxing documents. So in addition to a back office that we've created, which is a technology platform similar to what a lot of the banks are putting in place on their side, it can make your short sale paperless. It can do a lot of things to manage and process the short sale, that it's going to save you a ton of time and keep you organized.
Right.
But the main point is the short sale assistant is going to be working with you on that part of the platform. So the two tools would be the short sale assistant and this back office / database that we're going to have, these agents are going to have access to with their short sale assistant.
Yeah, what we're really trying to do is, I think, make these short sales as easy as perhaps having the agent do a 3-way call you up and just hand off the potential client to you and see if they're a yay or nay on going through a short sale. And I think there are still some misconceptions out there. One of the biggest ones I wanted you to clarify is banks aren't necessarily looking for people to be behind in payments anymore, are they?
No, I mean, it's one of the other changes that's happened in the short sale business. I mean, 2-3 years ago, most banks, they analyze the asset. Is the asset upside down? That's the purpose of the BPO, obviously. They analyze a person's liquid assets. They analyze their cash flow, money in, money out.
Right.
Those are the 3 things that are always have been looked at and still continue to be looked at. The 4th one is this concept of, have you been late in the past? Are you late today? I'm seeing short sales being done today based strictly on, is the asset upside down? Does the client owe more on the home than it's worth? They don't have an exorbitant amount of money left over every month in the money in, money out category. They're not sitting on a ton of cash at the bank, but they've never been late in their lives and aren't late. I'm seeing those short sales now are getting done.
Right.
And that's one of the changes we're seeing in the short sale arena as well. Is, again, a bank just wants to avoid taking back another bad asset because it brings values down, it costs them money. So being proactive on this side of the fence before the foreclosure is what banks are looking at. So that's changed as well.
Yeah. So some examples. I know one of our friends had a Wachovia loan. They moved out to Arizona, bought for 200. House is worth 125. She was not behind. She had the house listed for over a year. They actually called her up, took the house, paid her 2,500 keys for, in exchange for keys and just listing the house.
Yep.
And took the house back, handled the whole short sale transaction with a real estate company, and then I actually offered her none of her credit was harmed. She was never behind in payments. She could actually now go buy another house. They offered her mortgage financing of up to $150,000 to go buy another product around there, which she's put a house under contract for $109,000. So it's kind of weird how they just that's the way you think it should be.
Well, one of the things, Wachovia is the extreme example. I'm not saying all banks are going to do this, because they're definitely extreme, but I think all banks are taking on some program that's going to be in that into the direction or extreme of the I guess we'll call it the example of what banks could do to streamline the process, which is Wachovia's actually got a short sale program now where they don't even require any items from a homeowner.
Right.
No short sale packet, no bank statements, no verification of income, no financial worksheet, no hardship letter. They just want to know you're willing to list your house on a short sale. They will go down to a certain percentage of BPO for the net. They'll guarantee an approval within 30 days. They'll give the homeowner anywhere from $2,500, like you mentioned, up to 10 grand, and no ramifications from the short sale. No promissory notes, no deficiency judgment, no 1099s. So that is an indication of how extreme banks are willing to go these days to do everything they can to avoid another REO foreclosure. So having people that know how to navigate those processes to the bank. The government's got a program now where if, the amount of people right now in loan modifications that should their loan modification fall through, and I say should, I think a lot of people have seen the attention in the media about the startling number of people that are applying for loan mods and then getting kicked out of the loan mods. It's a lot more that are getting kicked out than accepted. We'll just leave it at that without going to specific numbers. But the government's even got programs now where if somebody gets declined on a loan mod, and even if their foreclosure date's 3 weeks away, that we can now get them in what I call the short sale line, out of the loan modification line and into the short sale line. And with that submission of a short sale packet, get their foreclosure sale date pushed back, have them avoid foreclosure, obviously, and participate in a short sale program that could actually get them money at closing to help them get on their feet in a brand new home with their first and last month's deposit, moving money, whatever they need to kind of get on their feet.
Wow.
So Wachovia is an extreme example to the fact that they'll do a short sale without even looking at anything about you personally. They just want to evaluate the asset. But whether it be the government or other lenders, a lot of lenders are falling in line with similar things where you can get actually money from doing a short sale and listing your home with a short sale listing agent.
Great. Wow. Great information, Mark. What do our brokers need to do to get involved in working with yourself and Meridian Title?
Contact us at Meridian Title. One of the things about the process we want to do is to reach out to your clients more from an educational standpoint, to talk to them about what their options are. I can't tell you how many people call us and say, hey, I just got my loan modification rejection letter. My sale date's in 3 weeks. Am I done? Or is there anything I can do? And the message is absolutely. We just need to give them some education and show your clients what we can do and what services we can provide for them.
Great. Thank you, Mark.
Sure.
And that wraps up another show here at Smart Office Network TV. Appreciate everyone popping in and viewing our show. And once again, this is also stored up on our video on demand at smartofficenetwork.tv. So until the preceding Friday, we'll hope that everyone has a successful and prosperous couple weeks, and we'll see everyone then. Thanks for viewing.